Listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I'm very privileged to have the one and the only Brian Woodbury here with me. We're going to talk about his new album and get to know him a little better. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. Very nice to be on the show. You described me as the one and only Brian Woodbury. I've got a new album out, and one of the songs on the album is called The Other Brian Woodbury because it's about this other guy named Brian Woodbury who's also a musician, putting out albums. And so we wrote a song together because we found we were being lumped together on YouTube and Spotify and everything, and we were afraid that we were going to be mixed up, and we tried to sort it out. And when we tried to sort it out, we found that YouTube and Spotify and all those places are pretty much impenetrable. You can't get through. So rather than beat our heads against the wall, we decided to do a song together called The Other Brian Woodbury. And it's about how we're getting mixed up with each other, not in our own minds. So anyhow, that's a diversion from what I'm actually here to promote, which is this album that I just put out called Rhapsody and Filigree. And it's the fourth, since there's visual media, it's the fourth volume of this 4-volume set that I've been doing over the pandemic. And there's the new one. It's called Rhapsody and Filigree. Mm-hmm. It's basically a double album. It's almost 80 minutes. The one I did before that was called Antipathy and Ideology. The one before that was called Balladry and Soliloquy. And the one before that was called Levity and Novelty. And they're each volume of this 4-volume project is in a different musical mood. So the first one was comedy songs. The second one was sort of more heartfelt ballads and story songs. The third one was political songs. And then the new one is kind of arty songs, kind of progressive, psychedelic art songs, songs about things that people don't necessarily write songs about usually. So anyhow, the whole project's called Anthems and Antithets, and it's a nice box set. And that's what I've been doing. I'm been a songwriter for many, many years. I've done lots of different kinds of music. I've done I wrote a lot of kids TV show music for a while. I wrote some theme songs for kids TV show. I wrote songs for many Disney shows and Jim Henson shows. And then I've done large ensemble kind of postmodern jazz stuff. I've done quirky pop. For a while I was with what we called it Blue State Country. We were kind of an Americana band. My friend Rob Shapiro and we were called Town and Country. Oh. So I've done a lot of different things. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, of course. Well, I guess I stand corrected in that one and only Brian Woodbury then.
One and the only other Brian Woodbury, yeah.
Now, I want to ask your influences, but I'll have to say when I got a hold of your album, I was talking to Billy James, and I told him this music sounds like Frank Zappa.
Ooh, well, thank you. That's high praise. I guess for this one, Zappa. The stuff that I often am compared to and was listened to a lot is Van Dyke Parks. They Might Be Giants, XTC. But this album is sort of more progressive, so it's got that sort of it's got that Zappa thing. Sometimes it's got Canterbury sound. It's got it's got a lot of that sort of progressive music influences.
So are you a guitarist or are you an instrumentalist?
I play the guitar on some songs. I play bass on a lot of the songs. I play keyboards on some of them, but I'm I'm okay on those instruments, and I primarily consider myself a singer-songwriter, but not in the usual strum a guitar and play in a coffee bar kind of thing. I'm an arranger and composer as well, so I like to have things, nicely arranged with lots of instruments. But I often have other musicians play because I know a lot of really good musicians who are better than me. So I have, there's a lot of them on these albums. So
Okay. I want to ask you something, and I hope this doesn't sound offensive because it's not meant to be.
okay.
Um, when you go from making music like for kids shows and Disney movies or Disney shows, what have you, do you think that there's some kind of stigma behind that maybe people are reluctant to take you more serious? Because I know there's artists, I mean, there's actors out there who are wonderful musicians. They're great artists, but I think they are held back because of the fact that they're actors.
Uh, um, how dare you ask me that? No. I think I think it's definitely opened more doors than closed. I don't know. I'm very kind of ecumenical. I'm very open minded about music, so I listen to every kind of thing, and I don't normally, get hung up on categories. And I know a lot of people probably
Yeah.
are more like, oh no, I really focus on one thing or another. So to me, it never was a problem. But I don't know. I don't know. There's some people probably, you know,
But some people do get hung up. I know as a teenager, we listened to a certain kind of music, and that's all we listened to. And
right,
we thought, oh man, the rest of that's garbage. And then as I
right.
got older, I started to appreciate some of the other stuff a little more. And I'm like, actually, it's kind of cool.
I think that's kind of a usual thing. You're more dogmatic when you're young. When you're first getting into something a lot, you sort of want to dismiss everything that doesn't live up to that standard that you're so into. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a lot of like fans of my TV show, like people who are in their mid 20s who like grew up wa- listening to those, watching those shows and hearing my songs, and they're like, oh, they just love those songs, and so that's a whole different generation of people to reach, and some of my stuff that I just do on my own is kind of light too, but so it's there's a crossover between all the kid stuff and the grown up stuff and the geriatric stuff.
Well, as a kid, it was Kiss and Metallica, Motley Crue, that kind of thing. And now
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate Paul Anka and Burt Bacharach, stuff
Kind
like
of the
that.
polar opposites. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I think people should be a little more open minded to say, hey, give it a listen. Maybe you'll like it.
yeah.
So, what shows have you been on?
I was writing songs for a show called The Bear in the Big Blue House,
Ah,
which was on Disney Channel. I also wrote for a show called Book of Pooh, which was the Winnie the Pooh show.
I was like say
Um,
it sounded disgusting.
yeah, Winnie the Pooh. Who knew? And then I wrote for a show called Teacher's Pet, and I've written for some of the Dora the Explorer shows. So I don't really do that so much anymore, but it was super fun. I mean, they were fun songs to write. Fun shows to write for. The big walk around puppet characters. Fun and great people to work with. So.
So if you said Barney, I was gonna get on to you for keeping those stupid songs in my head.
Yeah, those Barney's. The stuff we did was more the was the more FM version than to Barney's AM version.
So is this what you want to do from now on? Is you just your own stuff? You have no ambition to get back into TV shows or
You know,
anything?
I'd probably do it. I mean, I also write theater. I write musicals too, so that's
Oh,
another thing I'm interested in doing. So, and
okay.
I'm actually working on one with a longtime collaborator of mine right now. So,
Ah, can I inquire as to what?
well, it's still it's really in the developing stages. But I've written a number of different musicals. Nothing's been produced, but you never know. It's um, I wrote a comedy musical based on an Ibsen play, so sort of the opposite of comedy. But we made it a play about um, a um, a small town theater troupe thinks they're getting the rights to the musical of Ghosts, that Demi Moore movie, but they actually get the rights to this Ibsen play, and it's this sort of dreadful, dark thing in there. Wait, we didn't want to do this play, so um, so anyhow, but that's just one of the things I like to do. Is but right now I'm just focusing more on these albums.
Now, can you kind of go over some of the subjects in this newest album in each song?
Yeah, they're pretty eccentric. The first song is kind of a mini rock opera. It's kind of a prog. Um, it's inspired by actually like early Genesis.
Okay.
So where they had they had these concept albums like Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, where they'd have like a whole story that takes place. The songs tell a story.
The Peter
So
Gabriel years then.
yeah, exactly. So Theseus Rex is the opening song, and it's 9 minutes, and it tells the story of, it's like the Greek myth of Theseus, but it's updated to like the 70s, where Theseus is the son of Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead. So it's kind of whimsical, but it's kind of, big and dramatic and tragic, like a Greek myth. There's a song about how the moon was formed when scientists believe the moon was formed when a protoplanet crashed into Earth, and all this debris was scattered, and this other planet was sort of absorbed and pushed out in equal parts and formed the moon. So it's a song about that. I have a song. Let me tell you what else there's songs about. There's a song about, there was this monument in the desert that was found a few years ago, and no one knew where it came from.
I
There
heard
was,
that.
and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's from the aliens! Oh, that's some artist!" And then people went, and then somebody, I think, came and knocked it down. And then I think there were like copycat monuments in different parts of the world. Anyhow, so I was just curious about that whole thing and the whole phenomena about that. So a friend of mine and I wrote a song called "Where It Came From" about, it's a kind of a fictionalized version of that, but about this monument that appears in the middle of Utah someplace, and people start hiking out to see it, and it becomes kind of a big phenomenon, and then people guess it where it came from, and then the song tells you where it came from. And so there, it's just a lot of, I always try to write songs. I don't always try to write songs. I often try to write songs that no one's written a song about before. I try to make something, not just make it original in the way it's told, but just like, hey, no one's written about that. So for this album, I particularly did that, and I think I did. I mean, whether people actually want to listen to songs about such things, I think they're really interesting. But
It's no stranger than what Zappa wrote about. So
oh no, definitely not. Um, yeah, there's and some of it's kind of funny, and some of it's kind of serious. So I've got one song which is kind of internal monologue of a guy accepting an Academy Award or a big award at an award ceremony, and then at the end he goes, "Oh wait, I didn't win," and so it's, it's like, and it's a little short, minute and a half song, and then some of our big long, and one song on the album it's an actual setting of the Latin Mass, like the full Latin Mass, but I did it as quickly as I could, as short as I could. So it's called Brief Mass. And I don't know, I haven't actually researched it, but I believe it's the shortest setting of the full Latin Mass that there is. But because mostly when people do that, they want to have have a nice long sections with the choir, luxuriating and saying words over and over again. I tried to go through things pretty much one time without a lot of repetition. So there is some repetition, and I say amen, amen, amen. And I'm not Catholic. I'm not religious, but I just wanted to do a Latin Mass, so I did a Latin Mass, and that's what closes the album. And it's kind of proggy and kind of pretty, if I say so.
Well, I think it's important that, of course, you want some of your music to be serious, but you need to have fun too.
Yeah, definitely.
It's supposed to be an escape sometimes. You want to just forget about problems in the world. You want to just get away and have a good time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Would you say you approach your music almost like painting a picture?
Yeah, I guess in some ways, I particularly arranging, I think of it almost visually, like cinematically. You want to have different textures. You want something to come in here, something to come in there. So it's like, it's painting a world that you're kind of living in some way. That doesn't sound too grandiose.
Now, how would you describe this album? Is it like your Quadrophenia or Tommy, or is this more your Sgt. Pepper's?
Gosh. Oh man, I don't know if I can find a good analogy. Probably Sgt. Pepper, if anything, because it's has a lot of different colors in it, and it's a lot of, it goes from one mood to another.
Well, some people say they haven't quite got there yet, but I mean, I listened to it and I'm like, wow, this is some pretty cool stuff. I compared it to Zappa. And I'm a Zappa freak, so if I said it sounds like Zappa, you better take that to the bank.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, he's amazing. He's a huge influence on me and most of my colleagues.
Well, I like something that's different, and I found that this is not what you typically turn on the radio and hear. And
certainly not.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that's on is just, it's like spit out of a factory or something. It doesn't have the heart in it like the old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, what's your thoughts?
I don't listen to too much what's on the radio these days. Occasionally I do hear something that's like, oh, that's cool. I listen to a lot of classical music these days, I have to say. I listen to a lot of Johannes Brahms, I listen to that, and Beethoven. I don't know why. That's just kind of what I've been checking out lately. But yeah, I'm no expert. I would like to hear more, and occasionally I hear some great stuff, but I mean in pop music and then in sort of new stuff, but I don't know. I don't know that much about it.
Well, I'm with you. There's not a whole lot that I want to listen to nowadays. say the last band that I got into that would be considered modern would be Godsmack, and that was 20 years ago.
Oh wow. Oh, I've heard some. I've heard some good bands. Let's see. Oh, now. Oh, I listen to a lot of like progressive type stuff. Like, there's this guy named John Elmquist who's got this group called the Hard Art Group, and he does kind of, you would think, Zappa, a little bit more classical. He's got lots of strings and choirs, but it is like real whimsical lyrics, like Zappa, and funny and kind of sarcastic. But I heard a couple of his albums the last few years, and that's just like, the stuff just floored me and really, kind of influenced me. So yeah, John Elmquist, Hard Art Group, Hardart.
Gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, you should check it out if you like Zappa. I think this guy's wild.
I'm kind of weird because I like to listen to the stuff you don't really hear on the radio.
Yeah.
There was a radio station back in Houston that I used to listen to. It was a college station, and they would play the stuff that wasn't the top 40 even in its heyday, and I get more enjoyment out of that. I mean, we've heard the same songs over and over and over again. It's like, God, give me something different.
I really, I think songs have a limited number of times you can hear them. I mean, some songs you can hear them, close to an infinite number of times, but some songs, they're perfectly okay for like, a dozen listens, and then you've heard it. And like, and you've heard these songs, like the songs from the 60s and 70s that they play on the oldie stations, that I really don't need to hear, or like things from the 80s, like I don't need to hear Time After Time again. I don't ever need to hear. It was fine the first dozen times, really. It was fine. That was nice, but wow, it's in movies and in commercials and TV shows, and then just so. But
well, I mentioned Billy James, who's your PR guy.
Yeah.
And he sends me music all the time now. And oh my God, some of the stuff it's like a relief to hear something that I'm not hearing on the radio. Quite honestly, I don't even listen to radio that much anymore.
Yeah.
I got my Spotify, and I'll find an album and listen through it all the way through.
There you go. Well, I like to hone in and listen to the whole album. That's a good experience.
Well, Billy's got good taste. I'll say that.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's good. He represents a lot of good acts. And
it's because he wrote a book about Frank Zappa and the Mothers is why I contacted him in the first place.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
So, hey, hit him up. Tell him you want to read that book.
Yeah, I should check that out.
So, what's your future plans?
What's my future? Let's see. Well, I'm promoting these albums. I'm particularly the new one. I make a lot of music videos, so I'm in the process right now of making about 7 music videos for this album. Some of them are more elaborate than others. Some of them are just lyric videos, but some of them are fully staged. And then I'm going to be conducting a series of concerted listening events where, if I can find the venues, I want to find rooms that have nice sound systems, comfortable seating, hold a few dozen people, and just invite people in an evening and play the album, and maybe with an intermission or two. And rather than perform it, because I could perform it, but I would need a big band, I need a lot of rehearsal. So I think the first step would be to play the recording, because to me, the recording is my art form. It's, I make these songs for, to be played in a stereo on a stereo system, so that's the whole focus of it, is making a recorded work. It's like a novelist writes a novel. He doesn't write something to go recite off the top of his head. So anyhow, so that's what I did. I made this album, so I want to have people, invite people in to come listen to it, and we'll see how that goes. I don't. It's not too common, but I know that there are, bespoke listening rooms in various cities around the country and around the world. So I like to set up some nice evenings doing that, and then we'll see what happens after that. Maybe I'll do some live shows as well.
Are you going to do something like they do with the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon?
Well, that would be cool, like with a light show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I remember they used to have those at the planetariums, and which is such a great venue for, you've got those big reclining chairs, and you just get the whole vaulted ceiling, the dome ceiling to look at stuff. I think that would be, and then also a lot of them have like these sound systems like right in your chair. So
ooh, now that would be cool.
That would be awesome. But
man, if I still did drugs, what would I do?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, those videos, are they going to be available on disc?
On disc, well, yeah, probably. The label that's co-releasing this in the UK is putting out a DVD of the latest videos as kind of an inducement for people to buy the box set. So so I think I'll make that available too, or I might make it like a thumb drive where I just throw on all the videos.
So where else would you be able to catch it?
Well, you can go to my website.
Okay, what's that website?
It's brianwoodbury.com. BrianWoodbury.com.
The right one, though.
That's not the other Brian Woodbury. Me. So yeah, and yeah, it's all on. That stuff will be on Bandcamp and everything. So that's all linked on my website.
Now, are you on YouTube?
I sure am.
Oh, sweet. Let me guess, Brian Woodbury.
It's actually Brian Woodbury Music.
Oh, okay. Well, I was close.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
All right. So Brian Woodbury on music on YouTube. Sweet.
Yeah, a lot of videos there.
Nice.
Honestly, you should check it out. There's one that's a send up of prog called "Give Me Some of That Old Time Prog," where so a friend of mine and I made this song called my friend Johnny Unicorn and I made this song where we just did a homage to all the our favorite prog bands and sort of all the excess, and so that's what the song's about.
Nice. Well, I've got to check that out. Yeah. So I'm assuming your catalog is available on your website.
It is, yeah. It's everything.
So how many albums do you have on there?
Gosh, I think it's something like 11. There's a bunch. Some of them are albums that I was in the band. We were it was a band album, and then some of them are just solo albums. So I don't really know what the difference is, because solo albums always involves a lot of people,
Well, do you prefer being solo, or do you like being in a band?
I like being in a band. I like situations where you're co-writing stuff with a bunch of different people. But I co-write on my solo albums too, so it's the thing when in a band is you're not the boss. So
I can see where that'd be difficult.
Well, it can be difficult. It can be fun. Yeah.
Well, I always wanted to be in a band, but they say you have to have talent first. So I could play the radio pretty good.
That's great.
Man, have you ever considered being on radio? Because you have that voice.
Really? Wow. Uh, I, no, I haven't really. But thank you, I guess.
You, you should. You should think about it.
Yeah, it's a nice proximity effect from my microphone here too. Gives you that DJ sound.
Yeah. Welcome to my night songs. Well, you have a wonderful voice.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed the album. I appreciate Billy passing it on to me.
Well, I appreciate you enjoying it.
And I want to put all those links in the description so people can click on it.
That'd be awesome. That'd be great. Thank you.
And, you can slip me the money later. That'll be fine.
Okay, very good.
No, I really appreciate you coming on. And do you have social media that people can go to?
Yes. My Facebook is Brian Woodbury Music. Very creative. I don't do a lot of stuff on anything but Facebook. I have a Twitter and I have a Instagram, but you won't see much activity there. So
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. I post my videos and then I usually get right off of it.
I like Facebook because I like having discussions. I think, you can bring up a topic and then all your friends will say something and you have an interesting, it's a little bit like shooting the breeze. But the other ones are more like pronouncements and like, oh, look at my lunch. And I'm not that guy. So
I gave up discussions on Facebook a few years ago.
Yeah,
I got attacked.
It can be bad. It can be, if it gets, it can get harsh. But most of my friends are smart and have interesting things to say. So,
well, I think we should all focus on the positive.
Yeah, except for when it's really negative.
Well, we do want to inspire and motivate people here.
That's true.
And do you have anything inspiring that you can leave with the folks?
Well, I think the future's not as bad as you might think it's going to be. I think we're going to get through it. So that's my thought.
You bring that up. I had a great discussion with someone the other day that he tours all the colleges and makes a TV show out of it.
Oh, wow.
And he was telling me about this new generation of kids who are not spending their time on social media, that they have a lot to bring to the future. And he says it's actually giving you hope.
Well, that's great.
There are some wonderful people out there and we should acknowledge them.
Yeah, well, it's nice to hear.
And you're an awesome person. I appreciate you spending time with me today.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle. It's really, really been a pleasure.
And if ever you have anything to promote, please let me know. I would love to help out.
All right, perfect. I would really appreciate that.
Well, and also want to thank all of you out there. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you'll come back and please subscribe. For those of you who are regular to the channel, thank you for your support. It's because of you that we're able to do what we do. So until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network